We aren't victims of technology. What we are is empowered champions with technology. I'm MB. Thank you so much for tuning in today to this week's Intentional Pivot vlog, where we're going to be diving into Project Plan Epic Bucket number 4, social media. Now, wait, before you disconnect, before you possibly launch into an internal dialogue, thinking about it as the evil genius bent on destroying humanity and all the conspiracy theories about it, I would ask you during your intentional pivot or what might be upcoming pivot to consider one thing, which is a quick SWOT analysis on social media, because it is an intricate part of today's lesson, but also the pivot in general. So thinking about what is the strength of social media. Well, it connects billions of people instantly in real time. The biggest weakness of it is that core businesses tend to, based on the model, manipulate it to deliberately use fear tactics and addictive loops to get us to buy things that we want, to get us stirred up. And so that certainly can be a weakness of the platform. The great opportunity is that with AI input and with its involvement, is that provides advanced rhythms and personalization for our shopping convenience, also to give us plenty of information for us to look at that might interest us. Of course, that leads into the greatest threat of social media, which is the fact that people are taking the information and using it to really get us addicted, but also it can degrade our mental health. And we're seeing those numbers all over the place because those negative emotions based on fear can get us to lean into certain behaviors that are very manipulative on the part of people sometimes that don't have the best intention and certainly don't have our best interest in mind. Of course, finally, that lack of privacy. There's plenty of things to worry about as we're creating that permanent digital footprint that certain hackers could use in the future. So there's a lot that we have to digest on this. For unpacking it today, we know that people are leaving the platforms. They say about 2 million users. Studies are talking about 2 million people are actually looking and searching on how to get off of social media altogether as a search. We know that Snapchat data, 2026 data, everything that we're seeing across is that about 61% of all people are actually getting rid of, depending on the age groups, one social media platform a year. And so that's pretty impressive, and in a negative way. And for the millennials, for Gen Z, they're saying that the reason behind that exodus is it's based on their mental health and how they feel that social media is impacting that. So I know that my son and his new wife, we just saw them for the holidays, some of them and their friends. They were talking about the Be Present app that they were putting on their phones that was actually gamification using that platform to be able to reduce their amount of times that they open certain platforms, the amount of time that they spend, and then rewarding them for reducing. And in listening to my daughter-in-law talk, she said that this new time that she's gotten back, she's using to devote to devotional time, to studies in the Word, to creative writing and reading, and basically engaging. So we know that these are the positive things that are coming out of that. However, I'm going to make a very bold statement here, and you might really disagree with what I'm about to say. So feel free to comment in the box down below. I really do respect that respectful engagement that comes. But social media can be a positive force for human connection. I believe this. And so keeping that in mind, it really was originally designed to socialize. Of course, we know the story that it was developed for college students to keep in touch with each other and then turned into a parent's way to spy on their kids. But at the end of the day, it is a socialization tool that is in its design what it's used. And so tools, like any tool, it really is about in the hands of the person, what is their intention. So if I think of a hammer, for example, okay, what is my intention to do with this hammer? That really is who holds the control. And so the tool is there for us. How we use it, again, is really up to us, and it relies again back on that intention. Is it going to be progress? Is it going to be destruction? I believe that it can be used to build on what we need so much right now, which is voiding that communication gap and voiding that out and closing that gap so that we can begin to build those trust-centered relationships that we need so critically more than ever. I remember I was in a pivot a number of years ago, and actually on my Facebook, part of the agreement is that I would get off of social for 6 months and allow people to move on. And so I got off of social, but the last post that I made was on my picture, right, on my profile picture. And what I put on there was a picture of a bridge, the bridge at the Multnomah Falls, the Benson Bridge, and it was frozen. It was covered with ice. And I posted that because it was symbolic. And anybody who knew me at the time knew what that meant. It meant that communication was going to be frozen, that it was going to be impassable for a time. And it was by design. And so that was important for me to kind of send that message. But we are really losing our skills and our talents for forming deep relationship, meaningful connections with people. And so I believe that deleting your social and retreating is not the answer. And so in our short time today, I want to be talking about the 3 core strategies that demonstrate how I use social media in a pivot as a tool, really in order to hit that proverbial nail on the head and building those bridges. I launched my intentional vlog. Some of you have joined me. I hope so. You can always go back in the archives, of course, and watch those episodes if they're of interest and would add value 7 weeks ago. And thank you for those of you that have subscribed. And I talked about the importance of mindset. And I think here for today's conversation, it's super important, right? And many of you have commented out how even the paradigm shift of looking at the in-between as a gift, that shift was helpful. And so I think as we think about pivoting and we think about, what's next, again, that social media presence is super, super important. And our mindset on how we approach it is even more critical. And just like I apply my devotional before I do my yoga in the morning so that I get in a great headspace, this, again, looking at social media is so important so that we can maximize what really is a tool. It can be used very, very positively. And so the 3 keys that I want to touch on today, again, number 1 will be brief, and it's just about being consistent. A number of years ago, I went to hear Gary Vaynerchuk speak for the first time. We talked about it in episode number 5, your signature spark. How important it is that we are present and that we are consistent across all of our social channels. And that's why in episode 5, I talked about going in and doing that personal brand scrub, going across all of our social channels and just making sure that they're connected and that they're consistent. People that might be exploring or looking at us who haven't maybe in a long time might be interested in our what's next. And this way that they'll see that not only consistently reflecting our personhood, but also who we want to be in the next chapter, how we want to position ourselves. It may take some adjustment. It may take some tweaking. And as I went through mine, when I first went into my intentional pivot this time around, it was basically aligned, but I did need to do some brushing up because I'm doing a 180-degree pivot. And so I did a small amount of research, though, as I went in after I'd done my scrub. It's important, again, to be consistent, first in your messaging and your positioning, but secondly, in all 4 of the social media platforms that I use, which is Facebook. I use Facebook, Instagram, certainly YouTube and LinkedIn are my big 4. And then looking at doing the research for each of those based on my communities and saying, okay, what are the best times to post? And then being consistent in the posting, in the messaging. And this is very important for you, but it's very, very personalized. It won't do me a lot of good to kind of give you my whole schedule because that may not work for you at all. I think what's most important, though, to remember your algorithms, and if you kind of fall into the rabbit's hole and start looking at all of them, they are certainly important. Absolutely. You want to hit those midweek breaks or avoid Wednesdays. Everybody says avoid Wednesdays, but you want to hit those midday breaks for people. You want to get them on Monday when they get home and they just need to decompress after just coming back to work. All of these for different platforms are going to resonate with you. But what's most important is that it works for you. Algorithms are important. But again, the big takeaway here on this broadcast is sticking with a predictable rhythm that you can accomplish. Again, it really is the most important to be consistent. And so for this vlog, generally speaking, Tuesday nights work best for me. And so I post them during that time. Maybe that's not, according to experts, the great time, but it works. And I know I can be consistent. I know that for my Instagram reels, when I want to wrap up the weekend, then of course, going on Monday after everything is finished and I've wrapped up and gone through my photos and gone through my videos, I'm ready to really lock a few of them down to make it tight and to make it interesting for you. And so, I was thinking about all these experts. And again, I'm no expert. I'm a student. I'm no guru. I have a lot to learn. But I do know, if you look to Gary, who has 10 million followers on Instagram alone, if you look at Fraser Brooks, the network marketing ninja, Brent Tillman, there's a number of them. Mary Lou Kaiser, my dear friend. And yes, Mary Lou, I just got a copy of your new book. So when you're in town next month, I'm going to want you to sign it for me. Hopefully we can do lunch. But it isn't about you. It's the algorithm. Very, very true. Highly recommend it. But again, I think it's most important about the authenticity to think about consistency. And I think this is the second part that's really important to resonate with you today, which is, how are we working within each of the platforms to make sure that we deliver our content in a way that is how that platform is designed and what viewers that go there are looking for? And so I think about cars. I love cars. And so as I was getting ready for the broadcast, I was thinking, gosh, I would just love to run, a parallel between automobiles and how it makes sense. And so I came up with this. And so Facebook, I can think about it as a Ford Escape. Facebook is a place, that's my son's first car. It's great for family. It's great for people. It's great to just make a fun sandbox for everybody to jump on in and have a chat with the family and see what's going on. It makes tons and tons of sense. Instagram is a visual first platform, right? It's really a fast-paced machine where people are in a hurry and they scroll and they want to see beautiful imagery. So I think of that as a Porsche Cayenne, right? It's slick, it's lovely, it's visually stunning, it moves quick. And as you're looking at your pivot, this is a great way for you to demonstrate that you're engaged in life, what you're doing, and that things are happening, and energy begets energy, especially positive energy. And so we want to move forward with that. And then LinkedIn is really the Mercedes, kind of that E-class. It's polished, it's professional. That's where we put our best foot forward. It's kind of like a well-pressed suit, so to speak. And so we want to put our thought leadership there so that people can look to it to understand what's on our mind and how are we going to add value and be relevant in this world, and especially in our next chapter. This is super important. And finally, YouTube, which some people don't think about a social channel, but it surely is. It's the custom luxury coach. Those big vans that are all converted to be an estate on wheels, everything that you need in one place. It really is a human connection without distraction, where you can see the comedies that we like and the reels that we watch, and then of course all of ours. It's where we can really, really be human and allow people to get a full unvarnished view of who we are. And so you can organize your playlist there to really kind of give that view. Mine, you'll obviously see a vlog, you'll see a direct selling category there on the playlist. You'll see care for creation, which is important to me, comedy, my son's music, Tyler's music, he has one, and then of course, a vault here and there. So when you subscribe to it, and would love you to subscribe, of course, you can come and join me there and see. But because at the end of the day, as I wrap up, it really is most important to be authentically you. Let's just really face it. It is so noisy out there, and the old social media playbook where you show all of your feelings. We've been told for like the last decade that we should be showing up authentically, and that meant just being completely open about everything that's happening in our lives. And we really kind of moved into a place of oversharing, chaos of life. And people don't really want to see you bleeding. What people want to see is, how did you get through things now that the scar is healing a little bit? And how did you overcome so that they can face their own challenges with hope of victory, right? This is what they're really looking for. And so the trust that we're building here on social is about being true. It's about being honest. It's about being authentic, but necessarily not oversharing and finding approachability and inviting them into an unhealed wound. That kind of ship has sailed. So it has been proven, though, it has been showed shown that once we do begin to acquire that wisdom, though, people really do want to hear about that, even though it may be still a little sensitive for us at the moment. Of course, wrapping up, for pivoting, make sure we're always, when we're on social, being respectful of what was, the people there. Of course, people have moved on, and so we need to honor everything, the human beings, of course, that may or may not want to stay connected with us. And then, of course, any agreements that we might have. It's paramount that we are people of honor and people who engage with deep, deep respect. And so, as I close, my friends, remember they are craving, what people are craving right now on social is real depth. This is an opportunity during a pivot for us to establish people, with the people that want to move forward with us, to not worry about posting more, but posting really quality, and really measuring it not by how many likes we get, not those vanity metrics, but looking at how are we really looking at the depth of our network and building those long-term relationships. And this is what matters most. So be you, be authentic. You have hidden treasure inside of you that is worth a fortune. And it will restore trust when you show that and share that with people. And in summary, remember, social media, it's a tool. It's to be used to close the human connection gap. It's important that you are consistent. It's important that you are contextually relevant with the content for each of the sites and how people want to view what they view when they go there. And of course, being authentically you. If this message resonated with you at all, please click like down below and subscribe so we can continue to journey for a bit. And remember, the truest thing about you is what God says about you. You are uniquely and wonderfully created. Until next week, and we will be looking at epic bucket number 5, strategic partners. Do everything with love, my friends.